Bump, bump,
Bump,
ba-da-dum, bump,
bump,
bump.
bump.
Bring. I don't know about
We're
you
still
guys.
winners. We're
Still winners.
Parker.
Do we still?
Yeah,
My
we're still
lasers.
winners.
Why
The
not?
last game we played,
They're
we were a
fun.
winner.
They're festive.
They're warming up still.
A little bit of a drowsy morning here on the Blue Review. Welcome to the show presented by LAX. I am Marcus Grant with Greg Bergman and Parker Bell. Coffee is a must. Hopefully you all out there in the chat have yours as well. Fellas, it is, what is it? Today's Wednesday. I'm all turned around. It is Wednesday. We are 2 days away from game one of the 2025 World Series as we continue to get ready for it. Got a number of things to talk about today, mostly what the playoff roster might look like, the World Series roster might look like for the Dodgers, so we can get into that. I think most of it is set. A few things to kind of nibble on with that one. Otherwise, oh, by the way, we forgot yesterday to mention happy NBA opening day to those who celebrate.
Yes.
Things did not go well for the Lakers last night.
Not great. I was there last night. DeAndre Ayton has some explaining to do for why. You know, it's funny. I know this is the Dodger show, but you mentioned it. Everything on Twitter that I saw last night that had to do with the Lakers was all negative towards DeAndre Ayton. It was actually other fan bases saying, now you know it's like to have DeAndre Ayton in your team. Couldn't have happened to a better franchise. Sorry, Lakers. Like that's all I saw over and over again. Like Laker fans realizing that DeAndre Ayton isn't good.
Yeah, obviously it's only one of 82. We'll see where it goes from there, but not the greatest debut for DeAndre Ayton in the purple and gold. Also weird seeing Marcus Smart in Lakers colors. That's going to take some getting used to for sure. But anyway, that is not why we are here.
I did have to pull out. I'm sorry, I had to pull out old Faithful yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I think this 2025-2026 Lakers season early on going to be a lot of Tungsten Armo Doyles.
a lot of Luka, a lot of LeBron doing special things and not necessarily coming up with dubs. Is that what you're leaning into?
I mean, outside of Reeves and Luka, there was nothing. Nothing.
It was rough. It was a rough watch. It was miserable, actually. So I needed the Blue Review. Good morning,
review.
Everybody.
Dodgers.
We can talk about that because that is a positive thing so far. So we'll dive into that in a second. Want to give a shout out, of course, as always, to LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, transforming the travel experience, saving guests time. Looking forward to the People Mover train, seeing ads for the People Mover train. It's very exciting. That gets going hopefully early next year. If you need more information, you can go on the interwebs to flylax.com/transforminglax. All right. Sent you guys this article from Chad Moriyama in Dodgers Digest. He has been all postseason trying to predict what the Dodgers roster for each round is going to look like. And so he put out his final one of those for this year, trying to predict what the World Series roster is going to look like. And a lot of things are pretty much set. We already know that the rotation in the World Series, Blake Snell looks so happy at Laker game. Just things are going well for Blake Snell. Like, why not? We know what the starting rotation is going to be. It's going to be Snell in game one, Yamamoto game two, Glasnow in three, Ohtani in four. So it's going to line up exactly like it did in the NLCS. But, Greg, I guess we can start with the pitching side of things. There are some questions, I guess, about who shows up in the bullpen, right? I mean, we know Roki Sasaki is going to be there. Vesia, Trinan's going to be there. I assume we are not going to see Tanner Scott.
I don't know about that. So really, it comes down to Justin Wroblewski was on the roster in the NLCS, and Justin Wroblewski is left-handed, so is Tanner Scott. Do they want a longer reliever, or do they want another guy? If you're looking at both of the rosters, do they want somebody that has a wipeout pitch? I understand what Tanner Scott has been. Don't get it wrong, don't get it twisted. I understand what Tanner Scott's been, but Wroblewski is not really, I would say, like a seasoned veteran by any means. I could see him making it over Wroblewski. You can't?
I mean, I can. Here's the thing. I think it's harder with this Blue Jays team to
because
play
they're all
matchups.
right-handed.
It's a lot harder to play matchups. They're mostly
Oh,
right-handed. I think a lot of their
Varsho's
splits,
left.
and I haven't gone through all of their splits, but I think a lot of their splits are fairly even versus right-handers and left-handers. So there's no real advantage one way or another. Um, so I think that sort of takes that part of it out of the equation a little bit. Plus, Parker, I think there's still something about a guy who hasn't pitched well all year, and then on top of it, has been off for 2.5 weeks or so, 3 weeks. I mean, I don't know. I mean, fans aren't comfortable seeing Tanner Scott come out of the bullpen anyway, Parker. I feel like we'd be less comfortable seeing him out there with really no ramp up time in huge situations.
Yeah, that's the thing here is it's just coming off of obviously like a little procedure as well. You hope he's okay. That also plays a factor of in the ramping up process. Is the World Series really the time to do it? But it is a real conversation, and I know that in this article there that you sent us, Marcus, that Dave did say there's one spot that's up for debate, and I'm leaning towards, and I think that that's the reason we started this conversation here, is that it is in the back end of the bullpen there, because everything else seems like it's pretty set. Just, I mean, hey, that they won you those first two series, so don't break what, don't change what's not broken. And here we are thinking, okay, well, is it maybe a lefty? Can they sneak in another righty? In that case, who would it be?
Like a Will Klein.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah, bringing up somebody.
would they really bring? I mean, I understand getting the righty matchup. To your point, Marcus, they don't like the guys like Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero and Alejandro Kirk. That doesn't really matter. It's just like Shohei. Well, actually, shouldn't matter. The handedness isn't gonna make or break. You just want that extra tiny little advantage that could help out in some sort of way. So I don't know who else it would be. I think Wrobleski got added on. Just feels like he's the only one that is up for grabs. I don't think. I mean, possibly Kasperius, but you need a longer reliever, and he is right-handed. It's not going to be Sheehan.
No.
Who else? I don't know who else would be up for grabs there.
Yeah.
Kershaw? Nah.
No. I mean, Kershaw will be
no.
Kershaw will be on the roster, but he's very much a break glass in case of emergency option, I think, for this team. I mean, we did see Kasperius added to the NLCS roster a little bit later on, but yeah, I mean, I would not be 100% surprised if we see Tanner Scott on this roster. I think he has said himself. He said it was in kind of a viral infection or whatever, that everything's fine now.
Like an abscess or something in his leg.
Yeah.
Well, John Heyman, John Heyman's quote was a little silly, and I know that it was on Baseball Forever, which sometimes you can't always trust those graphics because they play with verbiage. And he did say in, I think, his quote, he was like, let's just say he hopes to put it behind him. There.
I mean, unfortunately, a lot of baseballs went behind Tanner Scott, and that was sort of the problem.
That was good.
Thanks.
I was impressed, especially for 6:38 in the morning.
Yeah, that was kind of the issue, that a lot of balls went behind him this year. So we'll see. Dave Roberts has not really committed one way or another. I think the quote I'm reading, I know that he's anxious, which is a good thing. We get to see a couple more days how he responds to throwing bullpens and things like that. So it sounds like he's giving Scott an opportunity to audition, I guess, for the World Series roster a little bit to see if he can sort of make his way on. It feels difficult because, and you pointed this out last week, Greg, that throwing bullpens or even simulated games is not going to match the energy and intensity of the real thing when they get to Rogers Center on Friday. So I don't really know how that works. So we'll see.
The one thing that I would say too is that I think the idea is always, especially, is to recreate what happened in the NLCS and not see any of these guys.
Yeah.
It's to have your pitching staff, your Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Ohtani, go as deep as they possibly can. And so you mitigate the the relievers, and so you don't see guys like Asperius, or if they do, Will Klein, or like even Tanner Scott if he's on the roster. You don't see them. The only relievers that you see are the ones that you trust in the biggest air quotes that can possibly be had. Like Vezia is being trusted right now. They're still trusting Trinan, even though I think every time he comes out, everybody gets a little bit afraid and maybe has a Tanner Scott type issue. But it just feels like, if that's the goal, is always go from starter to rookie as close as possible, or just go starter.
Or just go starter.
So yeah, if you go just starter, that's obviously going to be
just handle it yourself. Yeah, I feel like the chat is going to be sort of unanimous in their feelings on Tanner Scott. I think especially in now that it's the World Series too, right? I mean, he has not pitched since September 26th, so it has been. I mean, by the time we get to Game 1, it will have been almost a full calendar month since the last time that he pitched in a ball game. And again, he obviously struggled all year long. So I think for Dodger fans, they'd be perfectly fine not seeing him at all until 2026, when hopefully he can figure out whatever issues have plagued him. But the other part of the ominous, there's one spot left, according to Dave Roberts, Parker could be in the outfield.
Oh, interesting.
Part of how this article came to my attention last night, baseball writer Jay Jaffe said that he had some friends, or he posted something about the Dodgers, in a chat or something like that, and multiple people asked him whether or not they thought Michael Conforto would be on the roster. He said, "My eyes rolled to the back of my head and just got stuck there." But I mean, Parker, considering how committed they were to Conforto all year long, the fact that they would never, they didn't move on from him. They kept giving him at bats pretty much all season long. Is there a slight chance that Dave Roberts says, "I need another left-handed bat. Michael Conforto, come on down"?
Well, I'll say this: it's not zero, but I don't see any situation where I just don't think any other outfielder outside of the starters are actually going to get at bats. So when it comes to like any other outfielder who does make the roster, it's going to be because of their defense in the back end of the 8th and 9th inning, or B, they got a pinch run in a late game scenario. So I don't think Conforto fits any of those two scenarios there. So I'm leaning towards the very, very close to 0%. But of course, if something happens, of course, knock on wood, in the next 2 days, yes, I mean, Conforto fill-in spot, just similar to the Robleski there. It could happen, I guess, to answer your question plainly, but I highly, highly doubt it.
We have seen Justin Dean get on the field. He's yet to have an at bat. He
only have like 2 in the full season.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, if Justin Dean got an at bat, it's because he came in as a late inning defensive replacement, and somehow the lineup turned over to somehow get back to him. Like, it was not a planned thing for him to get at bats. But Greg, I mean, there's also the possibility of Alex Call, I guess, being back in there again. Yeah. Although it doesn't seem like, again, because the Blue Jays pitching staff is so right-handed heavy. You're not playing matchups with Alex Call. His defense is fine, not necessarily great. So even he, it's hard seeing where he gets on the field outside of some sort of emergency for the Dodgers in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, they trust Alex Call more in the outfield too. So like, I don't. Neither of these guys are going to see at bats unless it's absolutely necessary, and I feel like they would go with Call too, and they want Call to see lefties more than anything. And obviously, there's not a lot of lefties on this Blue Jays roster. By the way, Justin Dean did have 2 at bats, and he went over 2 with a strikeout. He did steal a base, but that's probably as a defensive replacement in later innings. So yeah, but I think they also trust Alex Call when he when he goes to the plate that he's going to put up a good at bat. That was the whole reason that they went out and got him. So yeah, I don't expect. I expect Cole on the line on the roster. I expect Dean on the roster they keep putting him as defensive replacement, even though they make some plays, but has not really done otherwise. He's just fast. He can get to balls better. Conforto if Conforto makes this roster, I might lose my mind. I don't know if I will be able to handle seeing just the name on the roster slip. There's no reason. There's zero chance. I guess it's not zero, but Alex Call should be on the roster over Michael Conforto every single day of the week.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to envision Conforto being on the roster. Yeah, I just saw that comment. Justin, that Toronto is fighting for Tanner Scott and Conforto.
I mean, they'll be in the dugout,
to make the roster. Yeah, I mean, look, everybody's in the Michael Kopech has been hanging out in the dugout. Like all these guys are chilling in the dugout, but that does not mean they're on the roster, nor will they actually play. So we'll see how that goes. But I guess we'll find out in another day or so who actually makes it onto the playoff or the World Series roster, I should say. Another one too. So in the article, and I don't think it's a major surprise, but Chad Moriyama predicts that the catchers will be Will Smith, Obvi, and Ben Rortvedt. I know this organization still really likes Dalton Rushing, and they think he's very much a future piece of whatever success they have. But I don't want to say surprised, Greg, but I guess it does seem like a big deal that Ben Rortvedt has done enough to play his way onto the roster for all 3 rounds. I mean, I know early on it was because Will Smith was still hurt, but still that he really has been like the guy back there in a lot of key situations for this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, they trust him. I think they trust him at the plate, too. So if you have to bring him up, that he's going to make the right plays. Dalton Rushing, still very, very young, obviously. Yes, you were right. They still have a lot of trust in him. But at the same time, Rortvedt made all the right plays when he went to bat and handled the pitching staff really well. He was dropping down bunts. He would go up the right field. He'd go up first base. He'd go up third base. Whatever needed to be done to make sure that he rolled the lineup over to get the Shohei. He did it, and consistently. And he also, when he needed to swing the bat, he got on base a pretty decent amount too. He played good team ball. Whereas I think Dalton Rushing is coming up there trying to hit a home run every time that he's up, and that isn't conducive, especially into a World Series situation where every single at bat, every single pitch is very, very meaningful. So I think Rortvedt is just the one that is more trusted in this situation.
Weirdly, I have seen more bunts, I feel like, this postseason than I can recall in a long time. The Dodgers have done quite a bit of it. I thought it was kind of a key thing in Game 7 of the Mariners Blue Jays series. You saw some bunts. We saw it in the DS against the Phillies. So for all of the analytics and launch angles and exit velocities, I know a lot of the new age baseball fans hate that sort of thing. Me as kind of a weirdo who grew up watching baseball in the 80s and 90s. It's nice every now and then to see them kind of get back to the old school way of playing. That's all I got on that.
You want more Brett Butlers and Mark Sweeneys and things like that?
I think every now and then, I get it. You're not going to do this on a regular basis, right? Like you're not going to, have a leadoff double and then have your next hitter just bunt the guy over to third so you can get a sac fly. Like I understand that that's not how you're going to play the game 162, times a year. But I do think in situations where one run can make all the difference. I think sometimes giving yourself that opportunity, if you've got a man on third and less than 2 outs, it gives you, in theory, a couple of chances to get that run home. We can insert our joke about, how bad the Dodgers seem to be in those situations. Yeah, Alex. Yeah, the Pages one was it was a swinging bunt, not an actual bunt against the Phillies. So
no, it's it's a good situational tool. I mean, teams should it's there for a reason. And I understand the whole analytic about like, oh, it's an out is an out is
Don't
an
give up
out,
an
and
out. You only have 27 of them. Yeah, I
yeah,
get
you
it.
only have
Yeah.
27. But if it's your 9 hitter and you have runners on first and second and Shohei coming up, and your 9 hitter either hits and you have 1 out and he hits into a double play, that is a bad thing. If he bunts the guys over to second and third and Shohei comes up, that is a good thing no matter what the outcome is to Shohei. So, like I understand doing all those things, and it worked perfectly for the Blue Jays, as you said. And, a lot of teams made their whole season off of that. The Brewers made their season off of that. There was teams in who was it in the National League? It was, or in the West, was it the Diamondbacks that were doing all those crazy things? Like
Probably. Yeah.
teams were just bunting over and playing the small ball that everyone craves for until they actually do play the small ball and it doesn't work. I'm like, why are you bunting there?
A la Phillies.
The Phillies. Well,
which they did the right thing. It just didn't work.
Dodgers made a great defensive play, is what happened.
Right. Yes, that was absolutely 100% the right play to move the guys over to second and third. 100%.
So quickly, my Instagram, we had a conversation on Mason and Ireland, and this is a conversation we've had multiple times actually on the Blue Review, but it's trending again due to the World Series. Dodgers, they might just go to every World Series in the next 10 years. The idea of ruining baseball. So, Marcus, the message quickly to the fans who just are like out there, MLB saying, Dodgers are ruining baseball, because I think it's pretty clear and simple, the true answer, but I'm curious to see how you guys frame it.
Tell your owners to suck it up. I mean, I know people love to say, well, there's small markets and this and that. And I'm like, it's not about small markets. It is about the depth of your owners' pockets and their willingness to spend their revenue to build the ball club. Yes, the Dodgers generate more revenue than most other ball clubs. They also take about 80 to 90% of that revenue they generate, and they put it back into the payroll, right? So they are doing things to continually improve the ball club, to improve the product on the field. Whereas you look at, say, a Pittsburgh, a West Sacramento, because that's what I'm calling them now. Those sorts of teams where their owners do have deep pockets. Look, man, every time you buy a pair of khakis from the Gap, John Fisher gets more money, and he is not putting that money back into the A's. Tell your owners to go out and try. And I think for all the talk of a salary cap, Greg, I think the biggest thing that would help baseball as a salary floor is making owners have to spend a minimum on their payroll to have a team that looks like it's not just a collection of double and triple A prospects that you're throwing out there for 162 games.
Yeah, 100%. Salary floor is exactly what we need. From 1947 to 1962, the Yankees won 10 World Series titles. That's 10 World Series title in 15 years. That didn't ruin baseball. When the Yankees won in 1998, 1999, and 2000, and it was the highest payroll in baseball and had all the best players and won 3 times in a row, that did not ruin baseball. Not just because the Dodgers are doing everything that is within the parameters of the league, that is not ruining baseball. And if they would have lost in the NLCS, that would not have fixed baseball. And if they lose in the World Series, that would not fix baseball. So the fact that the Dodgers winning 2 years in a row is not ruining it. And to your point, Marcus, it doesn't have they put their money that they make back into the team, whereas teams like Pittsburgh and the Marlins and the White Sox and all those teams that are not these small market teams that are not winning, they keep all the money for themselves. They use 25% of their revenue on their team. The other 75% stays with them. It's a different world.
On top of that, as we get ready to get out of here, baseball has had more varied champions over the last couple of decades than any of the 4 major sports.
I think it's 16 in the last 25 years.
Yeah, more than any other sport, more than the NFL. And look, I get that's my other gig, but that loves to tout parity. They've had a lot more dynasties in recent years than Major League Baseball has. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team in 25 years to repeat as champions. We've had the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. I'm just saying. So there you go. All right. That was fun. We got more out of that than I think we anticipated. And you were right, Sherry. The organization and the culture, all of that is excellent within the Dodgers. We can talk about maybe some of that tomorrow as well as we get back to things. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. Stick around for the Sedano and Cab Morning Extravaganza. We've got hearts because we love all of you in the chat. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We appreciate LAX as well. We'll be back with you tomorrow, 6:30 to 6:55 for Parker Bell. For Greg Bergman, I'm Marcus Grant. We'll see you then, everybody.
See you.